basketball fans, the NBA playoffs continue to rage on, and we document it all here on Canada's Home for Talking Hoops. This is The Hangout coming to you from the Air Canada Centre. It's always Akil, and it's always three well-informed guests. We start at the end. Norm's clapping. Woo! He's just happy to be back.
Let's go Raptors!
He's happy to be back in Canada.
Raptors!
This is stop, okay? You done? Okay. On the other end of the couch, Dan Gladman, producer of the Toronto Raptors broadcasts. You've been having a blast these last 2 games, haven't you?
They haven't been as fun as the Miami and Indiana series, but coming home for game 3 and 4, we'll see what happens.
Okay, one of Casey's guys, former mentoree of Dwayne Casey and now the head coach of the Brock Badgers basketball program. Shouts out to you and Joe Neal on the big year you guys just had. But Coach Kissi, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and I know you probably can't see him because of the many layers of camouflage he's got on. You just see a red hat floating on the set. But this is one of our favorite young comedians. We discovered him at a Tricks Comedians comedy show, and we love his style. Big Norm, thank you for coming out.
You know how I do. We're out here, kid.
Okay, we have no clue how you do, actually. But let's talk about the series that we are currently trudging through. The Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're battling. The Raptors have been bloodied in these first 2 games. They have not been able to compete with the Cavaliers at Quicken Loans Arena. So the question is, now that they're down 0-2 and the series shifts to the greater metropolitan Toronto area, is home cooking enough to make this series competitive? Coach Kissi.
I'm going to say they're going to need the 6th man tomorrow. They're going to have the fans engaged. They look tired.
So they look tired. So
tired.
What do you expect to see from the Toronto Raptors team come Friday or Saturday night at the ACC 8:30? You're expecting to see a competitive game that lasts to the very end?
Absolutely.
Possibly a win?
There's not going to be any quit. Coach Casey's not going to let them quit, and I think they have to play with some energy. They got to find it. I know 2 7-game series, but they got to find a second win.
I don't like quiet, Dan.
Dan,
Dan, chime in here. You got the insider information. I want you in here.
Look, I'm going to go back in Raptors history a little bit, and they've been down.
You would, because you're old.
That is very true. And well-learned. You might want to read a book. Oh, wait, you read a lot of books. Twice they've been down 0-2 coming home in the history. And not that they're the same team by any stretch of the imagination, but there are certain rhythms that happen when you do come home down 2-0. There's an urgency. There's a desperation. I'm thinking of the Detroit series in 2002.
Yep.
And Detroit won the title the following year. Right. And the Orlando series, which I think was 2008, and that Orlando team ended up going to the finals. Now, in both those situations, the Raptors at home won Game 3. Did they win those series? No. But they were more competitive coming home. There's a little bit of emotional relaxation and some desperation. That said, I think Cleveland is on a mission right now, and I think they look almost unbeatable to any team in the league.
Okay. Right now, they look unbeatable to the Raptors, but the Raptors are down an important body in Jonas Valanciunas with that ankle. So, Norm, I'm going to pose this to you. How much would Jonas Valanciunas change the complexion of this series?
With Jonas Valanciunas on the lineup, we would lose respectively.
But it wouldn't change the outcome.
Well, it wouldn't change the outcome. The losses would look a little bit more respectable.
You guys agree with this?
Yeah,
you think that having Jonas Valanciunas would at least allow some of the pressure to be taken off Kyle Lowry most specifically?
Sure. You alleviate the pressure, but it still doesn't change. Cleveland is playing at a different level right now, and I don't know how many teams would be able to compete with that.
I think it would affect things a little bit. Look, Cleveland is clicking at a different level, and there's really not much anyone can do about it. But having JV in there would give the Raptors that comfort level of having their complete lineup. They've played so many games together this year, and JV. A healthy JV in the Raptors lineup is the Raptors' best roster.
I also like, too, what we saw in this series is those runs. You saw a 16-2 run. One thing JV presents you with is a run stopper, because when you throw the ball on the post, he tends to get you a bucket or a foul. And I think not having that presence there, not having to attack from the perimeter all the time, kind of changes things. But, Dan, in the broadcast, as you were producing, I watched, you guys put the camera on Kyle Lowry as we saw him exit during the end of the first half. And my question to you is, are you concerned about Kyle Lowry's decompression? Simply because we've seen him exit games before in the regular season, but it's the playoffs now, no injury, and he goes into the locker room. How concerning is that for Raptors fans?
I don't think it should be a concern at all. And I mean, we did show the picture. ESPN showed the picture. And, you know, sometimes you worry it's an injury. Sometimes you think, oh, the guy just needs a pee break. that happens sometimes too. But look, the guy needed to go to the locker room, let out maybe some
But he
anger.
didn't. But this was him, like, kind of stressed out. No, Norm. As a fan, were you not worried? Does this not bode well for the team?
Well, listen, as a performer,
Yes.
when I get nervous,
Yes.
I have this thing called the PSPs, the pre-show poop. I got to let it out.
Okay. TMI.
So I'm
That was
sure
an
he-
overshare.
I,
That was
I'd
an
like, as a
Totally.
fan, I'd like to think he had to do the pre-show poop at halftime.
But it wasn't. He talked about a mental
He was
decompression.
nervous, and he had to let it out, and he got it out,
you know
and
what?
he came back
You're not
out.
nervous
Do you let your
enough.
players do that, Coach?
Too late.
Do you let your players do that?
and I agree, it's a different level. But at the same time, listen, I'm going to use their line. This is a process for them. This is the first time they've been there. They have to get this out. So hopefully, like the other two teams we mentioned, they make it there next year. They have to be able to get through this. They're learning. They're there for the first time, and their guys are feeling this is what it's like. Cleveland is showing you what it takes to play in that Final Four.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, so you touched on a good point. So I want to illustrate this. Has this series now become about, because we see the CBS Sports Online poll with the Raptors being listed as the other, is this series now about how bad the Raptors are or about how legendary this Cavaliers team has become, Norm?
Most definitely, it's about the Cavs.
Yeah.
Like, because we all know that Toronto is maxed out. Like
Yep.
they've
14
broke history
games.
records. Like they've done great. And like hats off to the Raps. We cheer them on. But come on, this is Cleveland, a full roster, a full squad. Kevin Love's killing. Kyrie just looks just nasty when he plays,
Absolutely.
making Kyle Lowry at his best look really embarrassing.
Which narrative do you guys side with?
It's almost not even about the Cavaliers. This is about LeBron.
LeBron.
This guy is working on a legacy. He's only got 2 rings. He's been in 5 title series. He must win. He must deliver for the city of Cleveland. This series is all about LeBron. The narrative is him. The Raptors, to me, winning Game 7 at home against Miami, that was almost like winning the title for Toronto right there.
So here's the million-dollar question I guess we got to pose now that we know that LeBron James is so great, Cavaliers killing it. Do the Raptors win a game, Dan Gladman?
Absolutely, they're going to win Game 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they will win Game 3.
If this series were played on aggregate, you'd probably be saying something else. Coach,
They got to win one game. Yes.
They're going to win one
yes,
game.
because they must.
Because they must. Because Coach Casey would probably kick your butt if you
They
didn't
have
say
to.
that.
Right.
Norm?
Most definitely, I would be the worst Toronto fan if I didn't think we were going to win at least one. We're going to win one.
Okay.
On the strength of the city, on the strength of the fans, on the strength of...
On the strength.
On the
On
strength.
the strength.
strength. I mean, I knew it.
All right, that's it. That wraps up the first segment of today's episode. Still lots more to talk about. You still got draft lottery to talk about, that OKC versus Golden State series, which is turning out to be epically interesting. And also the coaching carousel continues to twist and twirl. So much more to come. We'll be right back on Hangouts.